I've got the pleasure of reviewing the Toyota Yaris. I think this is an absolute nugget of a car, but if you want to spend 12 grand and only 12 grand, this is the car for you. Because between maintenance costs, low fuel costs, and just general liability, this thing, it's not going to set you back $1 in ownership. But what do you give up for that? Because I think this looks horrific. It's a 2014, but the interior looks way older than it presents. And I think it can be dicey at the best of times trying to drive this in anything other than perfect conditions like we have today. Let's get into it and see what it's like. So today we're focusing on the 2014 variant. This one is an automatic hatch. In all around Australia, they basically look the same from 2005 to basically now. They all share the same shape. It's a Toyota, they love to share parts. We'll get more into that later, but we're going to focus on the hatch and the 2014. Like I was saying, 5-door hatch, 3-door hatches as well, which I think are ugly and weird. And then in some states and areas, they actually got the sedans, which is even more weird, but you don't really see those much. Other than that, so all 4 cylinders, 1.5 or 1.3. Now they did come with variable valve timing, and don't get excited. They're still only making 63 kilowatt. They were mainly automatics, 4-speed autos, even though it's 2014. This is the part of the car I don't really like. And then manuals, which were not confidence inspiring at all. We've got the automatic 1.3 today, and later we'll drive it and see what that's all about. All right, exterior. So you can see the front. This type of car is exactly what you see is what you get. You get standard bulb lights, not LEDs or anything. The grille's really standard. It had a bit of a facelift a few years ago. But generally across the car, like, it's so small, which makes it easy to park, but it looks like a fucking nugget. See the wheels here, they're just the hubcap specials. You can tell this car was made on a budget. Like, even if you come and see these handles, it's got paint fade and paint chipping, even though it's never been resprayed or in an accident. Coming to the back, of course, is the hatch variant. You know, it's all right. It's just extremely plain. There's literally nothing special about this. I've seen 2002 Mercedes-Benz with more features than this bucket. Guarantee, if you have to replace this for some reason because you reversed into your nan's garage, it'll be $100 at a wrecker. Try doing that with a BMW. Do you feel like visiting Melbourne? Yes? That's great. You want to see what their train experiences are like? Come on board, because these seats will give you an authentic metro train experience. Because these seats are just like that. They are literally straight out of a metro train. This is just the definition of a true blue economy car. This poor steering wheel was leather, and it was never meant to be leather, and it shows the wear crazy. This example only has 125,000 Ks. Yeah, it looks like it's done 300,000. But the rest of the interior looks straight out of Toyota's factory room. That's because it's got really hard wearing plastics everywhere, and that just doesn't show its age, but it also feels like shit. And even when this car was brand new, it was really nothing special. Like this radio, for example, you can plug your phone into it through USB, it's got an aux cord, it's got all the usual shit, but I swear to God, my dad's Toyota Yaris from 2006 has the exact same one. Other than that, it just is a really weird feeling design. Like the driving position's nice, and you know, it's got all this stuff, but like the fact there's no center console, and like just a 4-speed auto, cup holders are way down here, it's just a really awkward design. Like, it's clearly a budget car, and you know nothing's going to break, and all the buttons still feel great, even like 9-10 years later. Like, everything just works really well, which makes it really good in that sense, but it feels like shit. Like, there's nothing good about it. It just kind of feels like bland. But, you know, it is what it is. It still works perfectly fine, and yeah. Okay, back seats. So, I have this in my driving position. I'm a 5'9" male. I think that's average height for a man. Anyway, and you can see I've got plenty of room here. Headroom is alright. It's nothing special back here. It's the same shit, like the same metro train seats. There's a cup holder there, but that's about it really. Like, this is such a cheap made door handle. Everything just kind of feels shit. But, you know, for the Yaris, there's actually a fair amount of room back here. If you want 5 people in this car, you're going to really have to like the person here, or they're going to have to be 30 kilos and anorexic, or they can be like my brother. This is Tom, my brother. He doesn't know 2 things about cars, so let's hear his opinion.
Right. I'm a little bit confused. I don't know.
Alright, this is the back seats, and this is when I got onto is it practical? For pound for what this car is, it looks tiny, and it is tiny. Well, I'm not massive, but I swear this car's tiny. And for what it is, there's actually a lot of space. Like, that's a lot of room for such a small car. And then you can drop the seats and they go completely flat as well, all of them. It opens up even more space. So if you're going away for however long, it's more than enough space. So yeah, I think it's practical. It's practical for the park. It's tiny. You don't know sensors or anything like that, but I think it's practical enough. Driving the Toyota Yaris. Now, this car, it's got everything you need for daily driving, but it does sound older than it is. Like, because of these cheap plastics, everything kind of creaks and wrinkles, and it just feels old. Like, the steering wheel's aged, even though it only has 124,000 Ks. You know, you'd almost think the kilometers have been rolled back in this car, but it hasn't. And just everything kind of just feels a bit strange. And then if it's not aged, it's because it feels kind of shit. But other than that, like, everything's accessible, you know, everything works still. All the buttons feel really good, you know, everything works. The AC is really cold, even in a small little car like this. And because it's so small, it stays pretty cold as well. This is where the Yaris excels. You see a road like this, it's really tight. This type of car, because it's so small, is steering wheel lock. I reckon I could just about do this in one go. Look at that. One turn. I don't know many other cars with a wheelbase that's capable of doing that, but this is where its car is great. It's a fantastic suburban car. Driving around town like this, if you're one of those soccer mums that just always driving around the suburban areas and you just want something easy to park to go get your coffee from Brunswick, this is a car for you. If you're just getting groceries and shit and you don't live far out, this is the car for you. Getting up to speed in this car, you do have to get on it a bit. Like, I'm doing 40, 50, 60 now. Like, it's not fast and you really do have to get on it. That's the funny thing about this car. The 1.5 actually gets better fuel economy than 1.3 because this thing, as I've test driven it, has always basically been above 2,000 RPM because it's working so hard to stay up to speed. Paired with this gearbox of only 4 gears, you know, the gears are really long and they make the box work really hard and the engine work even harder. But as far as technology is concerned, you know, it looks bad, like this little center console thing, you know, this center CD thing. But, you know, it's got the phone connector. You plug your phone in, it connects straight away. But, you know, you're probably going to want to replace this because it's ugly and, you know, it's very basic. And the speakers suck as well because they're just so old and dated. And they were never really good anyway. So it's the kind of thing like, you're probably going to put in money in those. But if you don't want to, it does the job. It just kind of looks ugly. But so does the rest of the car. So who cares? But it's got all your basics. Like, for what it is, you know, it's not super slow, and it's got cruise control. So once you're up to speed on the freeways doing 100, just chuck cruise control on. You're not even going to remember what car you're driving. You're just going to cruise. But for me, I like that the AC is cold, for example. I like that everything's accessible and still works. It does just feel like a 2002 car. And you see a lot of Kias and Hyundais, and they have this issue. They're cheap cars to get into that bracket, but these cheap cars feel like shit. So it's really up to you. Because I reviewed a Polo GTI, a 2012, and that felt, compared to this, it would feel like a 2021 car, like something really new. Because the 2012 was older, but it felt so much better, so much more refined. Driving this thing, the steering is mushy, and that is kind of the entire car. The entire car just feels mushy. When you're on the throttle, like, it's not responsive, the brakes are dull and spongy. Everything feels spongy. Like, there's no response, there's dead zones in the middle of steering. Furthest thing from a sports car ever. Like, it just feels so spongy and like a wet cloth. It feels like tofu. It feels like I'm driving tofu. I'm not going to say it's good or bad because it depends who you are. If you're a grandma or you just can't be bothered driving, I love that the steering wheel is really soft. And if you're teaching your daughter how to drive, you don't want something you're going to stab the brakes and it's going to be like, oh shit, my back. You know, you want something nice and easy. Like, look, someone's deciding to walk in front of me. If I had to brake fast, I can without throwing my back out. I know I just touched on interior, but practicality, 2 water bottles here, and there's just like glove box is good. You know, there's random stuff everywhere. It's just carby holders absolutely everywhere. All where you look, everything's really accessible. But yeah, I'd say it's practical. Anyone could drive this. That's why your nan has one. So, what goes wrong with that Toyota Yaris? One word, Toyota. Now, this is, I will admit, not really old enough for a lot of things to go wrong. It's a 2014 car, but more than that, this is a long generation of Yarises. These have been around for a long time. Proven reliability. Now, what I mean by that is you could see that Uber Eats drivers flog these cars. Down in other countries, third world countries, these get munted. And this generation has been going for a long time, and you can see the older generations everywhere on the road. This might look like an older generation, but it's a simple reality like the 79 Land Series Cruisers, and like what they do with the Hiaces, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So not much goes wrong. This engine, this 1.5 litre, and the 4-speed auto is proven technology that just doesn't fail. And because it's so reliable and so small and so accessible, it makes maintenance costs really low because of parts, and labour costs are cheap as. This is a mechanic's wet dream, and if you're just getting into cars, this is the perfect car to start servicing yourself, because there's no hidden surprises and there's no 1,000 sensors. If you want to just do spark plugs, you're not going to have to worry about turning over the key and your engine blows up. It's a simple, proven, reliable engine, but at what cost? It might not be money, but it's a slow engine that's outdated, that doesn't have many technology features. But if you just don't want to spend money, this is the car for you. So safety. This is a massive concern for a lot of people, because when you look at this car, it looks very small. It looks like it'd get crushed by a truck. But ironically, back in 2014, this had a 5-star safety cab rating. We've come a long time since then, but I'll go over it anyway. You got airbags, one here, and then there's one in the seat, and then there's a few down the side in the back for your rear passengers. That's it for airbags. But other than that, because it's 2014 Yaris, it now has things standard like traction control, stability control, anti-lock brakes. These are good things, especially if you're a learner or anyone, because these tiny skinny tires with traction control and ABS means you're not going to lock them up, which is huge, because the natural reaction to slam the brakes, this car only weighs 1,000 kilos, it locks them up fast. But with traction control and ABS, you're safe from that. So on one hand it's safe, but on the other hand it's still a tiny 1,000 kilo car. So it's as safe as it can be for the size of the car. Should you buy a Toyota Yaris? Now I am slightly biased towards Japanese cars because I love cars that are built right, and that's exactly what this is. This was built for third world countries. They've been neglected for years on end, and the thing is with these 2014 ones, it is out of warranty, and it is getting to the age where people will buy it to neglect it, but it's not old enough. It's not like a 2004 one where it's beat, it's got 250,000 Ks. So if you only have like 10, 12, 14 grand you want to spend, go buy a BMW and then spend another 12 grand keeping up with maintenance. Or you buy one of these and you do all the work in your garage because it's that easy, or you just don't do it at all and pray for the best, or your mechanic's gonna love you because this thing is piece of piss to work on. Even something as simple as replacing tires. These are 14-inch skinny tires. It's gonna set you $300 to replace them all. Try doing that to your mum's BMW SUV, it's going to cost her $1,000. So yes, it isn't the most luxurious car on the road. Yes, it looks like a pussy compared to the massive 4-wheel drives from America, but you know what it is? It's an honest, reliable car that shares most of its parts with other Toyotas, and is going to be there till we are all dead and dinosaurs come back to life. There will be Toyotas roaming the world. So to me, I think if you want to spend the money and have a car that looks a bit basic, get a Toyota Yaris. Why not? It's 12 grand and you'll probably sell it in 5 years for 12 grand.